Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for Monday. We have 9 games tonight, so let's get started. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter, check out the website, links are in the description. So I'll be doing prize picks as well. I'll try to do these at the beginning of each video. Last video, we did hit 3 out of 3 on the overs with the Grizzlies guys today. First guy that I have plugged in here is the over on Jeremy Grant rebounds. It's at 4. This is one of kind of the easiest ones, I think, that I'm loving a lot. He's a guy that plays huge minutes for the Pistons. He's played 31 and 32. The first game was somewhat close. The second game was a little bit closer to a blowout at the end of the game. But he's just on the court a ton. The minutes will be going up to like 34, 35 soon as they kind of get their feet under them a little bit. And not the easiest matchup against Chicago. They are much improved on both sides of the ball. Getting Lonzo there is a great defender. And then the DeRozan's definitely an above-average defender as well. But the Grant's for a guy that has averaged 5.5 the first 2 games. Last year averaged well over 5. I think it's a pretty smash spot on prize picks, getting his over on the 4 rebounds. We have Mccollum at 23.5. Like that a lot as well. He's been their best player so far the first 2 games. Lillard has struggled a little bit shooting the ball, whereas Mccollum is shooting 55% from 3, 56% from the floor. He plays a ton of minutes as well. Only played 30 against the Suns because that game was a 30-point game, but 35 in the first game against the Kings. This game should be another high-scoring game. You have 2 good offenses. Even without Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers still been putting up points the first couple of games because of Paul George. And, the Blazers are going to put up points as well. Both teams play a little bit above average in pace. 24 points I would expect out of CJ McCollum. I think he looks like a good DFS play as well. And then the last guy was Chris Duarte, 14.5. Duarte is only $5,400. Not that it matters, but he's playing huge minutes once again until Karis LeVert is back, which is going to be for one more game because, well, it could only be for one more game. They said LeVert might be back after he misses the first 4 games. So I would take the over on his points. He's just been playing huge minutes. Even though some of these games have gone into overtime, he still would have been 36 in regulation, still would have been 35, played 33. So just a actually, that game, I think, was just 1 overtime in that game, so he played 40 in regulation against the Wizards, but just plays in a ton of minutes, and the shot attempts are just massive. 21, 16, 15. He's taking like the second and third most shots on the team. So you got to like Chris Duarte. So those are the 3 guys I'm looking at prize picks. Right now, I'm in PA, so I can't play right now on prize picks, but I'll still try to post these every day so you guys can, if you are in a state that does allow you to play, you can kind of jam them in if you like them. If you want to play on prize picks, you can use my promo code PROCESS for a deposit match up to $100. And let's get started with the slate breakdown. So point guard plays today. We were looking at a couple of injuries that we already know of. Kyle Lowry is questionable, but we know Jrue Holiday is not going to play. Garland is also questionable. Garland missing the last couple of games has really helped a guy like Ricky Rubio just play really well and been getting good minutes. He's been shooting great from 3 the first 3 games. I don't know if that's probably not going to continue knowing Rubio's career. For the value pieces at point guard, you're going to be looking at George Hill at $3,500 in place of Jrue Holiday. There also are not going to have Brook Lopez. There's a chance Bobby Portis plays. I hope he does because he looks like a great DFS play. Portis would most likely start at center today if he does happen to suit up. But you'll be looking at like 25 to 27 minutes out of George Hill at the point guard spot. He shot 5 of 6, 3 of 3. Hopefully that doesn't, if that continues, great. But hopefully he gets more assists and rebounds to kind of bump his floor. And this matchup, I like it a lot against the Pacers. Pacers have played a lot of close, high-scoring games the first 3. 2 games have already gone into overtime for them. And this game should be another pretty close game without Jrue Holiday. At the top end at point guard, James Harden looks to be one of the best plays. They are in a back-to-back, but don't really think that's going to make too much of a difference. Like Harden, he does a little bit of everything out there, gives you triple-double upside. He had 8 turnovers last game, which is not very something you don't want to see. But matchup against Washington is just going to be such a high-scoring game that you kind of got to like Harden's chances to have a ceiling performance. I like Lillard as well. His price tag is pretty reasonable at $93. It's gone down by $1,000 from last game because he's just been struggling a little bit not even from a shooting perspective, but just not getting a lot of rebounds last game. And then the first game, he only put up 20 points. But overall, he's play huge minutes. He's going to be taking him and McCollum take most of the shots on the team. And there's no Norman Powell today, so there's just even more reason for Lillard and McCollum to shoot a lot. I don't mind going down to McCollum, saving $1,800, but we always know that Lillard gives you that 60-point upside, where McCollum does give you that 50-point upside, but we don't really see McCollum putting up 60 and 70 when he's playing with Lillard. So I like Lillard. I probably like going down to Brogdon a little bit. He's $7,900. The minutes for Brogdon are just insane right now. 36 in regulation on a back-to-back after he played 44 the game before against Washington, and he played 40 in regulation against Charlotte. They just have Brogdon playing huge minutes, Sabonis playing huge minutes. Until Caris LeVert comes back, they just don't really have much of an option to instead of playing Brogdon so many minutes at the point guard spot. Even in one of his worst shooting nights of his career, 5 of 19, he still finished with 45 because he got 14 boards. He's been filling up all areas of the stat sheet. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a couple of triple doubles this year. At least has a chance to do that until LeVert is back. So maybe we'll get one more chance to play Brogdon. I like that a lot. LaMelo Ball, 78. If there's no Terry Rozier, he looks like a great option. I like McCollum at 75 for a good value play in the mid-range at point guard. And then looks like Bradley Beal will play, so I don't really want to go 7K for Dinwiddie. He makes sense for tournaments, but that price tag has kind of jumped, and if there was no Beal, that would be a kind of a smash spot. Might go down a little bit to NAW. Alexander Walker took 24 shots against the Timberwolves, only made 6 of them, but he got 14 boards. He's been very safe and consistent the first 3 games, and if there's no Josh Hart again, his role is pretty much secure, starting and playing 34, 35 minutes. Tyler Hero's been balling out so far. If there's no Kyle Lowry, he looks awesome. Even with Lowry, he looks like a great play off the bench because he just does a little bit of, he does a lot of the scoring, and he's been doing a lot of the rebounding off the bench. And he has the ball in his hands a little bit, so he can facilitate some of the assists. So I like Hero. The matchup against Orlando is really solid, although this game could be kind of over quickly. Maybe it's not that close in the second half because Orlando's coming off of a back-to-back, and they're on the road in Miami, which has one of the best defenses. I don't know if the young guys like Suggs and Wagner and some of those guys are kind of ready for this Miami defense. Cole Anthony coming off of an absolutely monster performance, 67. I don't know if we'll ever see Cole Anthony put up that kind of score again, but if you played him, he wasn't owned at all on DraftKings yesterday at 61. He was like under 1% owned, but he's super popular on FanDuel at that price tag at 49. He's going to have opportunities because he's playing with Suggs. He's playing with so many young guys. He's still very young. It's only his second year, but it seems like he has much more experience than most of the roster, who's just so young. Until Fultz comes back, until Isaac comes back, Anthony's going to do a lot. I'm not going to play him at 62. I wouldn't recommend playing him because some people are going to chase after that performance last night, and it's just something I don't want to do. I like Ricky Rubio. If there's no Garland, he looks like a great option. Bledsoe's actually been productive the first 2. Don't know how long that will last, but matchup against Portland, one that you would expect he plays big minutes just to match up with like McCollum or Lillard to defend them. And then for the value, it's going to be George Hill, who I'm looking at 35 as like the best value play. Go ahead and plug him in at the guard spot. At shooting guard, you have Bradley Beal at 92. If he plays, great. I think he looks solid. Position shooting guard, you can kind of spend down a little bit if you wanted to. I like the 7K range with CJ McCollum, Anthony Edwards. The 6K range with Alexander Walker, Tyler Hero. And then the 5K range, even I sort of maybe throw Bledsoe in the mix. The 5K range with Will Barton at only $5,700. You have Chris Duarte at $5,400. Both guys play a lot of minutes, especially Duarte. And then the 4K range, you have like Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton if there's no Bobby Portis again. And then like Connaughton will start once again. He looks like a good option at 47. But if Portis plays, I'd rather go to Bobby Portis, just a guy that gives you a lot higher ceiling and a lot higher floor, I would say. And then the 3K range, Simons might get some more run today without Norman Powell. He looks like a okay option, I'd say. Jeremy Lamb is also in the mix at 35. And that's mainly it. Yeah, it's mainly it. Moving on to small forward, you have Kevin Durant at $10,200. He's been performing great this year. He's been better than James Harden so far, but that's because he's shooting at crazy high percentage. 70% shooting last game against Charlotte. 45, 52. He's been making a decent amount of his threes, and getting a lot of rebounds. So on this one, I might go Harden over Durant just with the price tag. Early, the first game of the season, we saw Durant was a little bit more expensive, but I think that's going to be the case all year. But 95 for Harden compared to 10-2. Small forward does have other pivots like Paul George is right there at 10-1, who's been doing really well. If there's no Jaylen Brown, then you would want to get to Jason Tatum at $8,700. So there's a lot more pivots here. Even the 7K range, you have Middleton, Edwards, DeRozan. I like Middleton the most, then Edwards, and DeRozan. If I had to rank them, Middleton hasn't had like a great game so far. Struggled a little bit in that first game in terms of just putting up fantasy points. He's been fine from like a real life perspective, but for fantasy, for a 7K player, you would want to see over 40 fantasy points pretty regularly. Last game, he just didn't have very many peripherals. It's five combined rebounds and assists. Normally, he's a lot better than that. So I definitely think Middleton is a good candidate here to get back on track. And then for more value at this position, you have Michael Porter Jr. at only $6,000. He struggled last game, but it's not really much of a, it's not too big of a deal for me. He's just too cheap at $6,000 at home. You would expect him, now that he's playing big minutes, to kind of finish with like 35, 36, averaging those fantasy points. You might go to Will Barton instead, because I would expect Michael Porter to be a lot more popular than Barton. So if you're looking to save some money, you can go down to Will Barton. Then you have Scotty Barnes, priced up a little bit now, but he's still viable at $5,900 just with the upside that he brings. Then for the value pieces, you have Franz Wagner at $4,400. Just plays a lot of minutes. He's safe for like mid-20s fantasy points, but nothing crazy, I'd say. And then at the bottom end here, you have Larry Nance at $39, and then you have Nasir Little at $38. Looks like Little will probably start in place of Norman Powell. He started the second half in place of Powell last game. Ended up playing 27 minutes, maybe got a little bit of extra run in the blowout. But if he starts the whole game, you'd expect like 25 to 28 minutes out of Nasir Little. At $3,800, I think he can be a pretty good value play with a chance to approach 30 fantasy points if this game does kind of go as we expect, and it is a high-scoring game. At power forward position, Giannis. I like to get to Giannis again. Been playing him a lot. The first game, it worked out really well. This last couple, it hasn't. Against Miami, they just weren't in the game the entire time. They just got blown out from start to finish. And then against the Spurs, he was dealing with foul trouble. He had 4 fouls, played 30 minutes, which is something that you would expect, but he just wasn't getting into rhythm because he picked up his 4th foul like 2 minutes into the third quarter. Had to come out, and then played a little bit at the end of the third, played a little bit in the fourth, but just not the same. I would like to get to Giannis today. I would say between him and Harden and Durant, he's still my favorite spend up. Don't mind going into Sabonis. He's finely priced. He's a fine price tag at $99, but I'd rather get up to Giannis, $500 more. And then you have Mobley, who's been playing great, but he looks better on FanDuel than he does on DraftKings based on the salary. I like Jeremy Grant a little bit at 63 against Atlanta. Just going to have to do a lot for the Pistons until Cade Cunningham is back. And then you have some decent value, I would say, at the bottom. One great value play would be Bobby Portis. If he does happen to play, I just think he looks like a great option. At 43, good matchup against the Pacers, and he would start and play. Well, I would imagine he'd start and play huge minutes. For them, he was taken off the injury report, but then he was added back in with the hamstring. So I don't know what that means. It means that maybe it might be getting close to returning. I just want to see how he kind of feels so far. But if Portis plays, he's the guy that I would like to get to. And at center, you have Jokic, 11K. He's fine. The matchup is not going to be easy because Cleveland has so many big guys there. Mobley's been playing great defense. Allen can play some decent defense. And then you have Markkanen just out there for his size. If you wanted to go cheaper, I like Valanciunas matched up against Karl-Anthony Towns. I like Nurkic at $7,000 matched up against Zubac, and then matched up against Plumlee. Never mind, not Plumlee. They have Hartenstein backing up, and Plumlee's like on the Hornets now. But I wouldn't play Plumlee at 65. He's just too expensive for a guy that does start, but just don't have that much confidence that he's going to put up like a big score like at that price tag. Rather get up to Nurkic, probably go down a little bit to Collins if I wanted to. Yeah, Mo Bamba at that price tag looks fine against Miami, even though it's a tough spot. Horford's been playing great, $5,900 for the Celtics. It's a back-to-back, so maybe they hold Al Horford out. We'll have to see. And some of these teams are on back-to-back, so I wouldn't be surprised if they hold some players out for rest. And you have Precious Achua at only $4,500. He's been doing great as a value play. If there is no Bobby Portis, then I think you can go to Precious Achua right now at $4,500, and that kind of does make your lineup look solid in terms of just getting a good value play in there. And then last but not least, at the utility spot, go ahead and plug in, for me right now, plug in CJ McCollum. Like that price tag at $7,500. A guy that is a little bit streaky, so right now while his shot's falling the first couple, I want to take advantage of that. You'd also expect him to maybe do a little bit better in these rebounding and assist. He's gotten 8 fantasy points from blocks and steals, but just plays big minutes, has the ball in his hands a little bit. They will stagger his and Lillard's minutes, so he'll get some opportunities without Lillard on the floor, in which case he just has the ball in his hands and he has a lot higher usage rate. But even with Lillard, he's going to have the second highest usage rate and has a similar chance to have a very good game like Lillard. So that's the first look. It leaves you with $6,200 left to fill it out. Keep an eye on some of the Bucks news. Could get some more value plays there. But I kind of like these 6 right now. If you didn't want to go McCollum, I think Middleton is another guy that you would feel good about plugging in. Same price tag as McCollum. I think he would be a lot lower owned. But without Holiday, I would expect Middleton, Giannis, and George Hill to really produce, especially Middleton and Giannis. Then maybe you can throw in Hill as a value piece. So looking like getting a lot of Bucks here. Looking like getting a couple of these Pacers like Brogdon, definitely. And then I like some of the value plays with Nasir Little and Precious Achua. So that's it for the DraftKings side. Let's talk about FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel here, point guard plays. First guy that I like, Lillard is more expensive than he is on a lot more than he's $10K. He's more expensive than Harden, which I probably wouldn't agree with. So I like Harden more than Lillard on FanDuel. Brogdon is only $83. I like him on both sides. Just has a lot of opportunity to produce right now. Has a ball in his hands. Plays huge minutes. Good spot against his former team at home. I expect Brogdon to play really well. Some of the value pieces here, you have a really good price tag on Lonzo Ball at only $6,200. I like Dinwiddie more than on DraftKings at $6,500. Rubio, same price tag on both sides. Looks like a good option here across both sides. And then 5K and under range, you have Cole Anthony at $4,900, who is probably going to be super popular after his great game last night, and he's only 49, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So he looks like a great guy to plug into your shooting guard spot. Paul George also more expensive than Harden, which maybe you can make a case for that, but still like Harden probably over the season more than Paul George if he's going to be $500 cheaper. Just a guy that can get you triple-double, especially in this matchup. Harden has such a good spot to produce. 10-5, Paul George has been great, but he's been shooting the ball really well. We know he's a good shooter, but sometimes he struggles. You can have the stretches where he struggles from 3. Right now, I like Chris Middleton at $7,800. Like him more than Anthony Edwards. Like him more than like DeRozan, Russell here. But it's going to be tough to ignore Cole Anthony's price tag on FanDuel at shooting guard. I like Nickeil Alexander-Walker too at $6,100. But it's probably in cash at least. You're going to be looking to plug in Cole Anthony at that shooting guard spot at $4,900. Moving on to small forward. Giannis is 11-2. So him and Durant similarly priced across both sides. I still like Giannis the most. Then I probably would go maybe on FanDuel at least Paul George, then Kevin Durant. They have Chris Middleton as a good option at 78 as a mid-range stud. Michael Porter Jr. is 7K compared to 6K, so it looks pretty much a lot better on DraftKings. Then you have Kyle Kuzma. I like Alexander Walker. You can plug him in at shooting guard or small forward. Like him on both sides. Chris Duarte at 56 looks like a good option. Then you have Scotty Barnes at 51. Maybe you can go Scotty Barnes instead and save $1,000. But Barnes looks great on FanDuel at that price tag. It's just a little bit too cheap. Power forward, Giannis. Going to be a guy I'll look to pay up for on both sides. Without Drew Holiday, hopefully he has a great game. Just had the last couple of games, Holiday played last game, and then he just didn't have a chance against the Heat to produce because they just got blown out of the building to start. And then I like Evan Mobley at $6,400. I like that price tag on him a lot. Guy that gets you a lot of blocks and steals, which is great for FanDuel scoring, and then he just plays a ton of minutes. And then at the bottom here, nothing crazy. Scotty Barnes, if you want to play him at power forward instead. Precious Achua at 46, so looks like a good value option. And then we saw Blake Griffin sit out yesterday's game for rest. If he's maybe today they hold LaMarcus Aldridge out for rest. I don't think Aldridge will play on a back-to-back. But you have Bobby Portis at 48 if he happens to suit up. Maybe compare him with Giannis. And then at center, some of the spend ups looks like good options here, like Towns, or I'd probably go Jokic over Towns, and then I like Nurkic a little bit at 77. But and Mobley looks like a great option at 64. But it's tough to pass on Jonas Valanciunas. A guy at that price tag is just too cheap. He's $1,300 more expensive on DraftKings, and 66 for a guy that plays huge minutes. Gonna have to play a lot of minutes to match up with Karl-Anthony Towns. And Towns is still a very good defender. So Valanciunas should be able to have some success in this one. He's going to be popular, but in cash at least, I think you want to start with Valanciunas. Probably start with Cole Anthony, and then maybe I like Giannis, Brogdon, and Scotty Barnes as price tags. So that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll see you all next time.